approval of a withdrawal from case 23-16, 105 Avalon Road without prejudice.
I'll second.
Okay, so yeah, I guess the case we have on tonight, I don't see anybody here for. I guess, did you have updates on your case from last week? You're not on the official agenda, but did you want to talk about it, or?
I did. My fiance's probably coming in at any moment. Do I sit here? Like, wow, how does it work?
If Steve wanted to pull a chair up or two chairs up, that's perfectly fine. Let me know.
Okay, I guess let me just pull up. Yeah, it's just a continuation from last week. I don't know if I read that official.
Oh, there she is.
Sorry.
You both can pull up the chair if you'd like.
I guess I guess this is a continuation of
This is what?
the case number from last week.
Yeah.
Which one? Well, what are we doing now?
This is Laurel Lane.
36 Laurel Lane.
So this is application 2317,
Okay, great.
36 Laurel Lane.
Yeah, so we just want to talk about any updates you have?
Did we want to have them sworn?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, so
Sorry, I'm a little cold.
no problem. Yeah, so same as last week. They're just if you're going to speak today, please stand and raise your right hand. Say, I swear the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. In responses, I do.
I do.
You do.
All right, great. Yeah, so you guys want to have any
Just
updates?
have an
We got to answer the updated
letter,
question.
with the answer to question 1, if you want to review it.
Okay.
Happy to go over any
Did
of
you
the
want to read it?
points. I'm sorry, it's only one copy, but I'm happy to read it.
Read it into the record, or they can explain it and then we can pass it
Yeah.
You want her to read it? She can just read it.
Yeah, probably.
Happy to read
rather
it.
than-
Sure. Thank you. So to question 1, and please fill in as not a zoning law expert by any means. We just said that there was no current circumstances related to the soil conditions, shape, or topography which affect the land structure. The original large shed, which is demolished, that was on the property before the current structure was built, was encroaching on the abutter's property to the rear. The new structure is fully inside the homeowner's lot, and there are no current encroachment concerns.
So in order for us to grant it, it has to, according to this criteria, it has to meet these conditions, so it has to have a unique soil condition, shape, or topography, which especially affects the land or structure. That's how that.
Could you explain what that actually means? Because we've talked to like our surveyor, our engineer, our attorney, and they kind of said, there's no special conditions here, like topography would be the only piece, and that's really related to, how close we are to the abutters and the setback. That's how I understand it. I struggled with this question. We went through it a number of different times. So if you could explain, I'm happy to try to get an answer from any of the folks that have been working with us.
So it sounds like your friend or attorney kind of filled you in correctly. The land itself, like the topography, could be, the shape of it. That could be one something. I don't know if we can go into too much detail.
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to actually make that case for you.
But if you could explain the question, like what are you looking for as far as an answer? Because this was, a professional's answer that was given to us in terms of no like special soil conditions. The shape itself is very similar to the shed that we had. It's not,
So soil conditions, we had a case similar that are recently where it was like close to wetlands or wetlands was affecting it, and we've had cases where there's pipes underground, they can't build something on that. That would be like a soil condition.
yeah, there was nothing that the engineer, when he came in
Survey,
and did the full survey assessment, that was wetland or piping or anything else that was of a concern when he did the survey.
There could be a lot of things. I mean, your whole lot could be full of rock ledge and so forth. It wouldn't enable you to dig down deep and create foundations. I don't see that issue here.
Yeah, I mean,
On
that's
this
what
piece
he
of property.
advised.
So I think you say it's not applicable.
That was the
That was the original answer.
one, because I didn't know what to come up with.
Yeah, because we were really struggling with that because there aren't any special conditions that we're aware of except for that setback piece, but, you know, again, not the expert, but.
Yeah, so I guess just like stepping back, you make just make sure you understand what the variance criteria are. So like by the state law, we have to find that all of these criteria are true for us to grant it. So if you're explicitly saying that that first one's not true, we can't grant it.
There needs to be a substantial hardship to the land or structure. Could be financial hardship, but.
Yeah, I did explain that a little bit in the other.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, just this.
Right, yeah.
Should I just go through the rest and then you can let me know kind of the thoughts? I'm not sure at this point of how to elaborate more based on the information that we have from the folks who looked at the home and the land and surveyed the land. In terms of number 2, the structure currently standing at the property was built to support the needs of my son, who is diagnosed with autism. His physician had recommended a large sensory space for ongoing occupational therapy and exercises, and recommended that the family create a quiet space for our son. The structure was intended to meet the needs of his, really his needs, and so it wouldn't work in a moldy office. And according to the physician, really according to her recommendation, she's happy to put a request in writing with the board if needed. The structure is existing, so it would cause, substantial financial hardship to make significant modifications to me. So that, and I understand, the piece that the proper process wasn't being followed, and apologize for that. In terms of, height structure, it meets the height regulations. Some of our neighbors, have sheds that are close to the property line, or closer than the structure is. Our original shed was literally a little bit on when I bought the home on the neighbor's property, and this one is a little bit more in than the other. So about 2.5 feet, and some of the other neighbors also have, kind of roofs that are a higher regulation. We're not planning on building up or putting anything special there except just for that space for our son and electricity. And we did talk to our neighbors, the 2 that came to the meeting, just kind of for reference, and they really just said, one is a contractor, and the other was just concerned that it wouldn't be like a living space for someone to actually live in, which was never the intention. The other neighbor said, I can't even see it. It was just more for, kind of, he's a builder, by the book, wanted the process followed. So that was the piece. So we've talked it out with our neighbors. Nobody has, major concerns. And, I think if we had to compromise, really this was, again, built for our son. Really we would, if it's possible to get a variance for the setback piece, we would be, okay with that and making the structure a bit smaller. I mean, my office does not have to be large. I can work in anything as long as it's safe and not moldy. So, certainly we can, make that modification. Obviously, financially that's a challenge, but if it has to be done that way, it has to be done. I think if we had to move it and do other things, it would be, significantly more much more costly because of the equipment that's required, et cetera. So I'm happy to answer any questions that I can about that piece or anything else.
Yeah, I guess anyone on the board have any comments or questions? Or?
So am I correct in understanding that potentially the shape of your current main structure, your current house, is not appropriate for your autistic child's outdoor space? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, our home is 3 tiny bedrooms, which, is pretty limiting in terms of the space that he has. And we have, our basement area, which is not fully finished. and you can hear everything from downstairs. So anyone who knows about autism, kind of sensory issues with sound, etc. So there was really no way without doing like significant modifications to our home, which would have been financially even more challenging, significantly more challenging, that he would have been able to have like a sensory space and a quiet space, and particularly the quiet space, he's has like frequent meltdowns and those kinds of things. So we really need to be able to put him in a space where he can just have peace and quiet and not be near our 15-year-old who's making his own noise and the dog and other things. So it's really more intended for him to have kind of his own area, and that was really not doable in our current home. I don't know if it even would have been doable if we built up, for example, just because of the floors. It's really kind of light and noise that bother him, and excessive sensory stimulation.
So just in terms of for the board itself, for my purposes, I believe that may qualify as the shape of the actual structure of their current house, creating a hardship requiring the space as built to be to qualify for the variance. I don't know if anyone else would have issues pertaining to that particular implementation of the rule for variance, or
Just a quick question. So did you look into sizing it down to meet that first?
Absolutely, so that's one thing that we would do, so that way we would just be asking for the,
Do you think that's doable?
it's doable.
Yeah, I mean, it's financially a little bit challenging, but we can certainly, if it has to be that, it has to be that. It's really just the setback piece to move it would cause a lot of challenge, because of the equipment that would be required to move it in closer. But it is less close than our prior shed was. And, we've made amends with the neighbors. They understand, now that they have the backstory of, in terms of our son, and we've had that conversation. Unfortunately, we should have had that conversation up front. But, it's a two-way street. They certainly could have asked us what the process was and why. I mean, they're familiar with our son, so.
Yeah, over the years, in looking at the variance criteria from my vantage point, probably the hardest one that people have trouble meeting is number 2, the hardship one. It's really hard to create a hardship case, financial or otherwise,
Yeah.
for most of these variances. And it's probably the one that best causes a variance to not be approved. So the question here is, what does the board think about that particular response to that? The reason we delayed this thing from last month to this month was because we didn't have a 5-member forum.
Yes.
And with a 5-member forum, your chances of approval are noticeably better.
That's
We're
what
still here with 4
Yeah.
tonight, okay? And so, I mean, that risk is still here. And I think the next meeting is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now?
I think it's January 2nd.
January 2nd. It's right after the new year start. So that's another consideration, okay, if you want to wait another 3 weeks, because you run the risk that you might have someone on this board they may not
And if there's
approve.
is there, what are the chances of there being another person here in January? Since
Well,
there
that's a good
wasn't one
question. I
last
wish
time,
Andrew
the
was
time
here to
before.
answer that.
Just so that way we don't go all the way into the spring.
He mentioned at the last,
I mean,
last
I know they
meeting
worked
that he
this-
had a couple of candidates.
We moved
I
it
don't
to
know.
Tuesday, so I don't know if
I
that
mean,
helps
I know they moved the schedule around to try to meet everybody's needs, so
Well,
My
there's
guess
one
would be
member,
people
there's
would be
one
there.
member that can't make Wednesdays. That's Cindy.
Yeah. I think, was that for a holiday course, though?
She had some of the commitment on Wednesdays.
Yeah,
This
I'll
next
go
one will be on a Tuesday.
yeah, it starts back on Tuesdays.
The next one
first
is on a
Tuesdays.
Tuesday, so I'm pretty confident she will be at the next one.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew needs to break her arm to make sure she's here, okay? So that's still the consideration you have to deal with, all right?
Absolutely.
And
I mean, at this point, we're willing to obviously meet the, you know, the size of that needs. So we were just asking the board to be a little bit more considering of the necessity that we have for this, you know. I think at this point, we just gotta take our chances because this is something that we need to finish for the kid. It's not, I can't keep pushing this around and having my son over there having, you know, I don't know if you guys ever seen, but it breaks my heart when I see my kid hit him in the head. Like, I want to do something and I can't. So
It's tough, so I'll compromise my office if it
Yeah.
has to be, and the, you know, the money is always.
If it's a no, it's a
can come
no, but
back,
at least I want to know where everybody stand here today, you know. I need to get an answer for this. This is not,
Well, I'll be very honest with you. I am reluctant to approve this.
appreciate it, sir. It's,
I would be on the same page as Simon for different reasons. I think like you guys certainly have hardship, there's no question about that. Where I've got a greater concern was actually the fourth criterion which is, you know, how this can be granted without derogating like the zoning laws. And I feel like this is an example of, since you guys, I mean, I completely understand it's an accident, but you guys didn't go through the right process, and this will be established a precedent of people not going through the process and getting relief afterwards that would substantially derogate the zoning laws of this town.
Okay.
considering there is having a kid with autism is not the same thing as just trying to make your house bigger or nicer, you know?
Yeah, just.
It's a completely different fact. We're not here because I will come here next year or whenever we can afford to do an addition to the house, which is not the case now. This is something that it was fairly cheap to build. If you guys are more than welcome to come in there and see we use as cheaper as possible Home Depot stuff and.
But, you know, if ultimately it's a no, or, I mean, I would say we continue it. I would not, you know, we have a disability advocate. I'm happy to, you know, go that route. This is for our son. I mean, that's at the end of the day what it's about. I would think that any town, any person would be able to understand that as a hardship, and the financial piece. And I understand that there's many things that we could have done differently, and, you know, sincerely apologize for that piece. You know, I don't know the laws of the town. I'm not a builder, work in healthcare, so, you know, very different situation, but, you know, it really is, it's to support that. And, you know, our neighbors are not, there's nothing that they're saying that like is really bothering them, unless there's some sort of issue with the land itself that we're unaware of, that the surveyor didn't recognize. I would just ask that the hardship piece be considered, you know, seriously, because it is a hardship to us, and, you know, it's something that significantly influences our family. And
No, I understand. I completely understand that. And I think that's part of the problem is that the way the law is laid out, you have to meet all four. It's not just one. Like, yeah, two you've got in the state. I don't have any objection to that.
No, we absolutely recognize the hardship.
Yeah.
It's the precedential type circumstances where if multiple other people come in, basically having already built and then requesting the variance, it's a circumstance where quite literally anybody could ask, well, you did this in this particular case. Why can't you do it for this one and this one and this one? And we end up coming up against circumstances where everyone's hardship, regardless, it could be financial, it could be any other type of hardship, but it creates a circumstance where there would now be precedent where folks who come in having already built would be asking for forgiveness rather than asking for the variance itself.
so in order for this to be approved, I mean, last time there was, if you cut it down and you move it, right, it's okay, it meets everything, that's no problem. So under those circumstances, is this not an issue? Or are you saying, like, you've got to knock it down and then come to us with this piece of paper and then rebuild it again in a different way, but to not set a precedent?
The circumstances actually regarding that is when you actually work with the town, and if it did fit and you were able to do it completely by right, then we wouldn't be here at all.
So what would make it, I mean, before it was said that it was like 26 square feet are cut off.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the size
let's say
would have to be
that is-
square.
That is done, but what about the setback, right? Because the setback, I mean, our old shed was definitely not meeting any setback requirements, I can tell you that much.
I think
So,
it's just a 5-foot setback for accessory structure, so I think we'd just be moving it over 4 feet, basically.
so we would have to do both of those things, because last time we were told we could potentially do just the, just the
Yeah, if you
making
did
it
both of
smaller.
those things, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So if we made it smaller, the setback, that would still be a concern because the structure already exists and there's no hardship?
You just don't.
Is-
You probably have a greater chance, but you have to get.
Is there still a variance needed specifically for the setback?
Yes.
That's my concern.
Yeah, so we gave it a 5-foot setback, and this is 3.3,
Yeah.
2.6.
There's a variance for the setback, and right now there's a variance for the size. The square
The
foot.
the size understood,
size
like
we
that's
can-
not,
And I don't see,
that's not the
there's any
bigger
big problem for you to cut the 26
it's
feet.
literally not a
No,
problem
not
for
at
me
all.
at all, 'cause
Complicated
that's
thing.
not really,
The other one, I think you have to just move that,
Right, the whole thing.
what's supporting the whole thing.
yeah,
and-
and
Right.
that's the challenge because of the equipment that's required, so I think that's where
Well,
we've
yeah,
asked
if you
for
have to pour a new
support and
foundation,
help.
postings and so forth, yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's the existing nonconformity. Is there anything? 5. What do you?
Get that into the special permit.
Yeah. What we are discussing at the moment is basically looking at circumstances where a special permit may be necessary rather than the variance itself, and Brett would probably be the best person to ask about this. Were they to cut down the total square footage
Yep.
to an appropriate, to where it would be an appropriate level, the setbacks, does that still fall within that variance requirement, or is that something that could just be addressed through a special permit rather than
There still
variance
needs a
itself?
variance for the 5-foot setback.
Even though there's the existing non-conforming structure that's there?
I mean, that would be my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah. It's unfortunate that you put it together where it was before we had this discussion. Okay? It's unfortunate that that's the case.
Yeah, it's also unfortunate we have to suffer with this,
I know.
you know, with, because of,
But you get the sense that I am not supporting an approval of this. And I don't know whether I got the same impression from you. Now, that being the case, if that's really true, then extending it to the January meeting doesn't make any sense. Because it would get disapproved at that time anyway. So you might be faced with having to go
how do you
back
escalate this
and move
beyond
that thing. I hate
this
to say
group?
that, but
Who does this go to beyond this group?
you could appeal within 30 days.
Does it go back to this group or?
Go to court.
Okay. Then we may have to do that.
we could vote on it tonight, or we could move it until January 2nd and vote on it at that time.
Let's vote it tonight, so that way we can start moving on and figure it out.
Then you know
If
where
it's
you
a-
are. Yeah.
If it's a no, it's a no. I mean, like you just said it right now, we may carry it to January and may go nowhere.
Oh, that's a possibility, yes.
So,
Yeah, and then we can appeal it.
feel free.
Yep.
We need a motion.
Yeah, that's the one.
I don't think my motion makes sense.
Chris, why don't you give it a shot?
Give me a minute. I will make a motion to approve the variance under,
Yeah,
under case number, it's 23,
-17.
Z2317, for a variance from section 5.
5.5.1.
Is it 5.5.1.1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That specifically indicates that the footprint of an accessory building or structure that is not an accessory apartment shall not exceed, it's 5.5.14B. An accessory building or structure in a residence district or an accessory to a singular family dwelling in a non-residential district may be located within a required side yard or a required rear yard, but shall have no less than 5 feet from the nearest rear or side lot line, and shall occupy no more than 25% of the required side yard or rear yard area. So motion to approve.
So are we approving both requirements or just the?
No, I think you're going to have to, we're going to have to act on a motion for 5511 and probably act on a separate motion for the
Okay.
5514.
So
So
then,
we're only voting on that one.
so right now
We're
we're just
requesting two
voting on.
variances tonight, okay? There's two variances
Okay.
here, one
Yeah.
against that section, another against another paragraph.
So 5514B
That
is
would
my
be a
motion for
separate
right now. That's the 5 feet, that's the 5
Okay.
foot setback.
Okay, but we're voting on both of them.
Yeah, we'll vote on both tonight.
separately.
Yes.
So we have a
Sorry,
motion.
second that, yeah.
All right, all in favor? 2 in favor, all opposed? 2 opposed.
And I will make a subsequent motion for 5511F to approve a variance for 5511F, indicating that the footprint variance from the footprint of an accessory building or structure that is not an accessory apartment shall not exceed 600 square feet or 25% of the gross floor area of the principal structure, whichever is greater. And we'll move to approve a variance from that particular bylaw.
All in favor? All right. Yeah, sorry, it's not a better outcome, but I think that's our decision.
That's okay, we're happy to appeal it.
I hope you guys understand. Do anything for my kid at this
And
point.
we absolutely understand.
And I appreciate
Thank
you very
We-
much.
We appreciate your understanding and, you know,
That's the appeal section.
Okay. Great.
I'm sure you all know this is
God
God.
bless you guys.
Disabilities, but thanks for your
Sorry.
help.
Where's the other party?
I called him.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I called him, says, anybody coming? He's like, what? I said, that should be my father. I'll call him, but, I mean, I'm not gonna wait for him all night.
It's
Well, we
7:30
could
now
go, we
already?
could go pick up the minutes and the other stuff on the agenda, and then if they're not here by the end of that, then
Oh,
I
actually,
guess we have to,
Where the, I missed the minutes, actually. I
Oh,
didn't see
yeah.
the minutes. Okay. I didn't see them on the email.
It just came at 1.
Uh-oh. Ah, there we go. I guess, did you have any comments?
huh?
Did you have any comments on the minutes?
What, on the minutes?
Yeah.
Only one
Okay. Pretty good.
pertained to me. It's on page 3. 1, 2, 4th paragraph down. It says, Syquet stated they may want to continue until there are 5 members available to vote, as he is not included. I think it's probably he is not inclined
That makes sense.
to give a positive vote. That's the only change I had. Somebody did a pretty good job on those minutes.
All right, a motion to approve then?
So moved.
All right.
Have you got comments?
Second.
What's that? No comments.
Oh.
Okay. All right, all in favor of approving? Great.
Okay.
Mr. Patrick Houghton ditched early.
I guess, does anyone have any known objection, or known issues with the schedule as proposed? Might be
Well,
easier just to do that via
I don't know, it's probably going to change again
Yeah, I don't think
sometime.
so.
I don't know.
That's the kind of thing where it might be easier just to email me if you have any issues.
So which the one we didn't hear, is that this 105 Avalon, or is that?
105 Avalon
That was
with
the
Drew.
one, that was the one.
Yeah, that was the one with Drew.
So then it would have.
5 Woodward.
Hmm. So what do we do about that one? Are we just automatically scheduled for the next meeting, or?
I don't know, like, really.
I mean,
So
when
you
some,
called-
I don't think I've ever been involved in where somebody
If they
didn't.
answer, then we could do a continuance over the phone.
Yeah, I could do that, I guess.
I don't think I've ever
Either
been in a
that or-
zoning board meeting
Where
where
they didn't show.
they didn't show up.
We have
This
to
is the
deny
first
it,
time in
correct?
my
We can't make a
tenure.
motion.
Yeah, you can probably make them,
Or can we?
I don't know, I would say you make a motion to continue it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not sure we could do that without.
Yeah, I don't know, without their idea.
concurrence.
Just don't hear
They
it.
may be in Florida for the next 3
Yeah.
months, who knows?
We definitely can't like withdraw them.
Can we just like know for the record that no one showed up? And we'll probably
We didn't make a motion either way.
Yeah.
Just applicant didn't show, I guess.
Yeah. Just note for the record, applicant didn't show. Any objections to that?
It is now 7:35. Meeting was called to order
Yeah.
at 7:03. Brett, the applicant had notice of tonight's meeting by telephone and I'm assuming by mail
Thing,
as
email,
well.
mail, yeah,
They may have to give notice to everyone again.
yeah. I mean, I told them to email me, because I'd be in the meeting, and I haven't seen anything,
Okay.
so.
They have plans.
Okay.
Just noticing that is now 7:36 and no one for the applicant is present.
I'll second that motion. Whatever you need to do. All right. Is there any other business that I'm missing?
No, I don't think so.
Motion to adjourn?
So, yep. All in favor? Aye.
Great.
Let me knock on the door for